What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Elize of Amaranthe. Great to talk to you. Thank you for your time today.
Hey, very nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time as well.
Thank you. It's awesome to have you here. Manifest is coming out very, very soon. The first thing I was curious about is, was this the intention of Manifest, just to make a direct follow-up to Helix, or do you think that this is almost kind of like a new beginning for Amaranthe in a way?
I would say it's a follow-up, actually. We started to touch and taste a little bit on our core sound, which we wanted to kind of bring back for the Helix album. And as we continued, it felt like a very natural development. As we continued to find out what is the manifest of Amaranthe music.
Mm-hmm. Could the first two singles that you released, Viral and Strong, featuring Nora from Battle Beast, could that almost serve as like a clear representation of what the whole album is going to sound like, or is this just the beginning?
Ooh, it's just the beginning, of course.
Yeah,
but they are two very different tracks, actually, as people might have noticed. But it's still very Amaranthe. I mean, yeah, the first one is the more groovy Amaranthe. The second one is the more like true ish Amaranthe. Besides having another female vocalist, of course, which is completely new for us.
Mm-hmm.
But we thought, why not? And we were supposed to be in the US at the time, touring together. So it would have been like the ultimate climax to release that video and the new single and play it live.
I know. And were you gonna play this live together, right? Like.
Of course.
Yep. And for those of you listening, Amaranthe was actually supposed to be in New York City the day after this interview would have been uploaded. So at Gramercy Theater, hope that tour can be made up very soon.
I really hope so too.
As a fan of Amaranthe, I think if you were to play me like a few seconds of a song, I could tell that would be off of The Nexus, or that would be off of, Massive Addictive, Helix, etc. So it's fair to say that Amaranthe has always taken a new approach to every album, right?
Absolutely. And that's one thing I actually mentioned, I think, a few years ago as well, that it's one of the things I personally like, that when a fan can hear the difference between the albums, so not just all the releases like blend together and they sound the same. That wouldn't be so fun.
Yeah. Do you like enter the studio or enter songwriting mode with like a preconceived idea of what you want it to sound like, or do things kind of like fall into place, like happy accidents, as I like to call it?
No, unfortunately, there are no happy accidents here. We always decide before where we want to go. It's very typical us that we visualize and we discuss what we liked on the previous, or actually all the previous albums, like, and what we kind of missed and that we want to bring back, and the overall kind of mood. And it reflects also a lot from of course, like our personality and where we are in life right now.
Mm-hmm. So you do look at these albums as like a reflection of who you personally are. Like the albums are almost like a self-portrait for you.
Yeah, for me and all of, I would definitely say so.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a little bit funny when you think about it, because each song and each album you really remember like what kind of state in life you were at the time you wrote these songs, and it makes so much sense also to us, like why we also tend to change a little bit the sound and the mood, but in general, it all comes from our heart and soul, so to speak.
Yeah, being that the debut album is going to be 10 years next year, are you almost thinking about maybe doing like an anniversary tour of that to party like it's 2011?
Oh God, that would be so amazing. I was actually hoping that we could go back and play at the same stage we played our very first show together ever, which was at Sticky Fingers in Gothenburg.
Oh,
I mean, I remember that as if it was yesterday, actually. So yes, I would absolutely hope and love to. So yes, we will see if it's possible to arrange.
Yeah, please bring that tour to the USA.
Oh, that would be, okay.
Being that the music and the lyrics are very like personal and you express yourself into the album, do you like to leave the music open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe engage the listener into maybe seeing things from your point of view?
Oh, very interesting question. I would choose the first option. No, I mean, of course we want to inspire people into our world of thinking, but on the other hand, we will not want to decide how people should think or what kind of, we don't want to make it too clear. We want just to inspire and invite the kind of mood, and then of course we all have different opinions, and I think that's also one thing that we want to reflect through our music, is that differences are good and inspiring to us as well. So yeah, people can decide themselves what they would like the song to be about.
Do you need the music before you come up with lyrics, or is there ever a time where maybe like a lyrical concept or story could determine the music itself?
Absolutely. It goes both ways, actually. It happens many times that I start out writing a vocal melody with lyrics and like some basic chords on the piano, and then we turn that into a heavy rock song. And sometimes it's just the title of a song which inspires the rest of the lyrics. And sometimes it's the music that carries the story forward.
Has there ever been a time where you had like the best lyrics ever, but then they're always like one syllable over the song, or they just can't fit anywhere?
Oh my god, yes, of course. Yes, that happened.
That's got to be the worst, right?
Yes, it sucks.
Yeah. Being that Amaranthe consists of 3 vocalists, when it comes to the recording the vocals together, do you almost have to be, like, do you all have to be in the same headspace or have be in the same emotional frame of mind when recording the vocals together?
No. Actually, we usually don't record at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I usually start, and then the other singers join later, only just to get the clear idea of the song finished, so that it's easier to kind of show, like, here is the main melody. But on the other hand, it's really nice also to do it that way, because then I kind of put the basics, and then Nils comes in, as we've done on the previous 2 albums, and he kind of brings his touch to the song and his energy, and it's very inspiring. Yeah. But on the other hand, we could have made it. The only thing is that if we would do all the vocals together, we would need to stay in the studio for a month. But I mean, I've been there for 3 months, but the guys just have to be there for 2 weeks. So it's more of a administrational solution.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because obviously, I feel like all 3 of you have very distinct vocal styles and themes and ways of expressing yourselves. I feel like with the 3 of you, it's almost expressing different sides of Amaranthe altogether, right?
Oh yeah, that's actually a really nice way of putting it. I agree, and I think that's also what's the charm about it. I mean, for example, obviously I don't sound like Henrik when I'm angry, but it's kind of nice that you can have all these different aspects of the same emotion, or you can actually also even like twist kind of the meaning of the song into a different kind of feeling. Like maybe I see this kind of topic from a different perspective than how Nils would like to express it, for example. So yeah, it has a lot of different emotions to what could be the same meaning.
Mm-hmm. Does the music itself almost kind of have to like adjust to fit the different vocalists in a way?
Actually, yes, sometimes we think about that yes. To build a song, usually the natural way would be to kind of start it a little bit. We like to write songs, in this kind of orchestral mood, like movie scores, etc., where you kind of start off smooth and then you reach the crescendo towards the middle, and then it just raises. And therefore, I think it's time that I start singing, because I have the more soft kind of tone. Not in every song, of course, but if it's a song like that. And then we can increase the energy by bringing the more heavy riffing and the stronger voice, like later on to the song. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I actually also love when it blends, because when the contrast is stronger, like with the heaviest riffing, but the more softer voice.
Yeah, and like I've always thought that you've always expressed many different emotions just with your voice alone. I feel like you're able to like I just on the last album alone, I found it like insane that like you had a song like 365 versus a song like Inferno versus a song like Unified. Like I felt many different vibes and many different emotions. Like it's clear that you write about what you're feeling at a particular time, right?
Yes.
Did you find it maybe like the longer you're working on a song, the harder it is to kind of maintain that emotional spark in a way?
Absolutely. I usually love the demos more. I'm very honest now.
That's good. I mean, are you ever going to release the demos like as a B-side one day?
Actually, I would love that. We talked about it now during the quarantine because there is nothing else to do except releasing this amazing album, of course, in October. But I mean, after that, if we're not able to tour, like for example, the whole next year, that would actually be something I would love to dig into. Like kind of, put all the demos together and maybe release that as some kind of extra fun for the fans. The most fun part is actually, I have to say, Olaf growling. Not a lot of people have heard that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the demon growls.
There's gonna be people like eating their pillows listening to this now, saying like, I have to hear this happen.
Yeah. They're actually really good, the demos, I have to say. I mean, I know bands sounds different on a demo state than, like all bands work differently, but we are usually making all the arrangements kind of finished. The only thing that is, of course, digital bass and digital drums, but everything else is as it should.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's only me singing, but, well, Olaf is growling. Sometimes I growl as well, but yeah, it would be really fun. Well, let's see.
Let's see if it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but and it's funny too because like, and as I mentioned before, like every album really like plays by its own rules. So I almost feel like that hearing like these songs in like a demo state would almost just kind of be another side of Amaranth, just as Helix was, or Manifest, or the Nexus, or any of those albums.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It would probably sound a little bit, well, very, very similar, I would say, since a lot of things happen also, like the difference happens a lot in a later state when we do the mix. But the basics are very similar, songwriting-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to playing live, tomorrow was supposed to be my first time ever seeing you play. So, like, is there a similar energy into playing live as there is with songwriting, or is playing live and songwriting almost two completely separate arts?
Ooh, well, that's something I haven't thought about, interestingly enough. But I think maybe, like, playing live, it includes, it tends to be even more, like, straightforward, because then you're, first of all, very, like, friends with the song, and you get the energy from the audience, which I think affects each single artist on stage. Like, it gives that extra 10-20%, or even 50%.
Yeah, it seems like the crowd would feed off the band as much as the band feeds off the crowd.
Absolutely, and when you realize like people are singing along to the lyrics, you're like, oh my god, yeah, this is, you get extremely excited, and it's such a nice, it's an amazing and undescribable feeling, of course, to like perform the songs and in live, because then it's official, so to speak. When you write the song, you think, oh no, it's only me thinking these things, and you almost don't think that a lot of people will listen to this, and they will maybe even sing along to those lyrics.
Yeah, do you almost have to like practice like a choreography? Like, do you almost feel like on stage you're almost like portraying a character in a way?
I mean, I'm obviously not the same person in my apartment at home writing songs as on stage. But I think that's a little bit like the subject we touch around this album as well, like finding your inner superhero, where you get extra brave, extra strong, extra everything, like when you step on a stage. And I wouldn't say we have a choreography, but we have to discuss, of course, certain like positions between the three singers, so we don't like bump into each other.
I've wondered. There's a lot of bands now that have multiple vocalists. You know, Lacuna Coil, I think, being one of the most known ones. And I've seen Lacuna Coil like 17 times, and I've never seen them bump into each other at all. So.
No, that's very true, and you're right. I think even if people would maybe think that could happen, it's something that you just don't do because you still pay attention to your co-workers on stage, so to speak.
Co-workers.
Co-workers. I don't like to call it music or performance work, actually, but are my colleagues. No, of course, my friends and bandmates. But we are a little bit more like, we jump a lot and sometimes, run. And yes, it happened that we like kind of accidentally hit each other, or that I almost like kick someone in the face. Because I like to do those high kicks. Well, you haven't seen us live yet, so you don't know. But yeah,
I'll be looking for that.
If the stage is too small, then it's very dangerous.
Yeah, if you play at like a DIY venue with like the low stages and you hit an audience member, maybe they'll be honored by it.
Maybe, yeah. It's like, oh, I got the high heel in my cheek from Elize. No, ooh, that would be terrible. But I knocked out my front tooth from a fan hitting my elbow, actually.
Oh wow!
Hitting my phone. So yeah, it could be very like, intimate, so to speak.
Well, New York City's the hardcore capital of the world, so all of that is welcome.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
In order to get like inspired though to write lyrics or to sing a melody, do you almost need to be in a certain place at a certain time in order for ideas to come through, or does inspiration sometimes strike out of nowhere?
Oh, I would say that they usually strike out of nowhere. That's why I actually hate to be stressed, for example, because then I feel like I cannot get inspired. That's why it's probably the most dangerous thing for a musician to kind of, get too stressed or, get too much into the everyday kind of life, whatever that means. But, I mean, I, for example, most of the times I get inspiration after 12 o'clock, which is kind of a bad idea. But I know a lot of very creative people say the same. It's like, once you go to bed and you relax, you kind of go into this, a fantasy mode. And then it just comes like into your mind. It's like all kinds of information. And you're like, oh God, I was supposed to go to sleep early today, but I guess I need to skip that. So then you stay up until like 4 or 5 in the morning, writing down or recording like the ideas that gets to your head. But it has happened also during daytime. When you just walk in the city or something and you're like, oh God, you start to think about something. But yes, you cannot be like completely focused on what's happening right now. You have to be like a little bit, open for, the antenna has to be on, which I used to call it like the antenna for ideas that comes from something.
Yeah.
Needs to be on.
It's funny too, because like I'd imagine, and you mentioned it, like inspiration seems for every artist to always strike at like the most inconvenient times, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's how it seems. It's like, okay, here I'm trying to be a normal person, living kind of a normal life, but okay, well, I guess I'm doomed to not be able to do that. I mean, if I would actually just force myself to not take in whatever inspiration, then there wouldn't be as much music as it is from our side.
Yeah. Well, I had a discussion about this with a tattoo artist one time. They said that if they only created when they were inspired, like they wouldn't make that much stuff. Sometimes you have to force stuff, right? Because maybe like that'll help the ideas come clearer.
Well, yeah, that's of course also true. And it's actually kind of funny because you would maybe imagine that you cannot create on demand, but I've been also outside of Amaranth writing a lot of songs for other artists, and usually we do that during daytime. Like we book an appointment and we decide to write a song, or it could be on like a camp and you get like 3 hours to create something, and it works.
Definitely. And
as long as you hear some chords and you have people like who you can discuss certain things with, I think it comes.
Yeah. And the final question I wanted to ask you is, you actually led me perfectly into the final question, because collaborating with so many different artists between Falconer and Dragonland and Beyond the Black and Camelot, like, it's kind of like two questions of one. But first, is it like a different mind frame collaborating with a different artist, or is there like a usual method behind the madness that applies to everything?
Oh, well, I think that, to me, obviously, I love music. And if I hear a great track, or if there is a band that I get inspired by and they kind of present their ideas, it's really hard to, like, I mean, I don't see the reason why I would not want to collaborate. And it's probably why I've been part of so many collaborations. But for me, it's very inspiring. I mean, it's also extremely nice to sing other people's vocal melodies, since I usually sing the ones I write myself. So it's very, like, educating and inspiring to get into someone else's mood and try to, like, kind of represent what that person wants to present.
Mm-hmm. Do you almost kind of have to like adjust your vocal style in a way to sort of like fit their music, or do they just want you to completely bring your own mix into their style?
Yeah, sometimes I ask, actually. I'm like, should I sing this a little bit more like this, or should I sing it a little bit more like this? And then they usually say, no, we want you to sing like you. And I'm thinking, all right. But I love to. I like more to kind of adjust my voice to the music. For me, in my creative mind, it makes more sense that I just basically sing the way I think the music sounds like. And it happened that I've been recording things, and they, maybe it was not what they wanted, and then they can just say, like, no, but, you know, for example, with the Gus G song I did with him, it's a very low, for being me, it's kind of a low key, actually. And I was thinking, like, yeah, well, I mean, I could sing this very smooth, I can sing it, we could raise the key, we could do this and that. But on the other hand, I thought, well, this is such a nice opportunity for me to kind of show and express a different side of myself. So I like to be presenting different moods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's different. But for me as a musician, I would of course want to, like, adjust the feeling to how I think it fits to the music. The music leads, so to speak.
Does it allow you to bring new stuff into Amaranth, or do you try to keep them completely separate entities from each other?
You mean the guest vocals and the...
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question as well. I think I try to keep them separate. If that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you mentioned that it was like a different side. You express a different side of yourself in collaborating with different artists. So I've always thought that.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. Yeah, well, but it's because it's not my idea to begin with, and that's why it kind of opens up some door inside of me which I wouldn't have found by myself. So that makes the difference, I think.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, yes, of course, I could be inspired by someone else's songwriting, and I could think, like, oh, I love this kind of melody, so I would want to write something similar myself, where I could bring back that emotion.
Yeah, like a lot of artists find that when they collaborate with somebody else, or even play in a different band for a while, it opens up new doors on how they could express themselves in their main project.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's 100% correct. And that's exactly what I felt as well when I started to, like, accept collaborations, or whatever you want to call it. Like, that this is a gift. This is something that develops yourself, and it's really nice to get that inspiration and kind of new sights on yourself. So yeah, that's very true.
Mm-hmm. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Really enjoyed talking with you. Wish we could be at Gramercy Theater right now. Yeah, but before we go, though, is there just obviously the new album's coming out October 2nd. Is there any way that fans can support you during this time? Can we maybe be expecting some live streamed performances for people to hear some of this material in a live setting?
Oh, yes, we are discussing that. We would love to, of course, get the band together and play all the songs live, which we were planning to do, and also, of course, play old songs, but we haven't decided really yet when, but I can assure that it will happen before the year is over.
Awesome. And obviously when all this is over, you know, and tours do happen again, we'll be seeing you on the road quite a bit, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we cannot wait. And we cannot wait to come back to the US, and it feels so weird, like you say, sitting at home and not being over in the US at the moment. But we'll survive, and we'll come back stronger than before.
Yeah, the worst is because, you know, you find out about these tours, you know, a lot of these tours we found out with long before the pandemic hit, and you mark all the shows on your calendar, and then all of them get canceled, but then your calendar still reminds you that you're supposed to be at a show. That's the worst.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Elize. Everybody, we are here with Elize of Amaranthe. Manifest coming out via Nuclear Blast October 2nd. Be sure to pick it up then. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.